Give me rice and chicken stew any day and I'll be happy. Like most of you, I bet. But hard chicken stew is just even better. I always say chicken stew does not hit as good unless it is hard chicken. That might not be the case for everyone, but I'm using hard chicken in this recipe and it is amazing. I know you are going to enjoy it. Come along with me and let's do this. With that being said, you can also use any kind of chicken you want, soft, hard. I just prefer the hard for this. So I have my spices. I'm just going to add it onto my chicken that I've cut up and washed. Add some salt, water. Just about 3/4 cup water at this point because you want your seasoning to be very well absorbed around your chicken. You want it to cook in a very concentrated amount of seasoning so the chicken absorbs everything and comes out tasting, smelling, everything will be perfect in that regard. So I'm going to cover this and bring it to a boil. This is what we typically call steaming. So that way it's just a little bit of water in here. Your meat gets to absorb all the goodness and comes out tasting amazing. So about 15 minutes later, I see that my water is almost all dried out around my chicken. It is smelling amazing. It is nowhere near cooked, but this way it has been able to just gradually cook up and soak up a lot of the seasoning. Now I'm going to add some more water to help the chicken cook. You know this is hard chicken, so you definitely need a lot of water. Hard chicken is the same as stewed chicken or hen. Normally here in the Asian supermarket, you'll find this named stewed chicken or stewing hen. So I'm going to cover this and allow it to cook for about half hour. And it's been about half hour. Chicken ready to be fried. I'm just getting my oil ready. So this is some avocado oil. I'm going to let it heat up. In the meantime, I'm going to remove my chicken from the stock. So just drain out the chicken pretty much. And then I'll get it ready for frying. Delicious, yeah, yeah. Ooh, delicious, delicious, yeah, yeah. Ooh, delicious, I don't intend to deep fry my chicken. It is hard chicken after all, so the meat is very firm, perfect. You could pretty much just put it in your stew and it will be good. I'm just going to fry it in just a little bit of oil just to get it to be golden and not to be very crispy or very well fried. So I'm just going to let it sit in the oil, toss it around a little bit until it's golden pretty much. Most part of it is cooked and I'll bring it out of the oil. Delicious, yeah, delicious. Have you been go? Tasty. I think my chicken is perfect now. I'm just going to bring them out and then we can start making the actual stew. Nemum said ya da mekano no me nya ho oba bone ana branti e bone be ma bone bi na sheto krom ho no na hwinam wenyi na. I'm just saying this is so tempting. Just don't be a bad lady or gentleman and just sit somewhere in your corner and finish most part of it. Okay, this is meant to be going in the stew, and in the stew it's gonna go. It looks good, it tastes good, it smells good, but let's hold on. So I have here some shallots. I have already sliced them. I've put them here in my oil. I'm going to fry this until it is very close to caramelized to bring more flavor. You see all those pieces of the chicken and the spice that it cooked in here. It's all here in my oil, so it is already very fragrant, but we are trying to just elevate the flavor in this stew. Shallots are perfectly fried at this point. I'm going to add my tomato paste, stir it in, let it cook for about a minute or two, and then I'm going to add my bay leaves, my powdered pepper, and my rosemary. I'm going to let these fry on low heat, especially because I'm using a cast enamel pot. It retains a lot of heat, so low heat for about 5 minutes whilst constantly stirring to prevent it from burning. Doing this is going to assure you that your bay leaves and your rosemary is going to infuse a lot of fragrance and flavor into your stew. So tomato paste is perfectly fried now. It is almost browning. I'm going to add my tomato sauce. This is my homemade tomato puree. You can also use tomato puree that you buy from the store. I forgot to mention from the beginning, this recipe is a blenderless recipe. I know most of us have blenders at home, but not everybody does have one. So this is a perfect tomato stew that you can make without a blender. Once you have your tomato puree, whether it's homemade or store-bought, and some dry ingredients or marinade for your chicken, that is pretty much all you need, and this stew comes out perfect. You wouldn't even think of having fresh ingredients or fresh ingredients in here. The beauty of making your tomato puree at home though is that it is so well cooked that once you start using it in your stew, you pretty much don't need to cook it for too long, unless of course you want your stew to be very, very well fried, very dark. If you're trying to make that typical Ghanaian jollof stew that goes a little bit darker, or wachi stew, then you probably need to cook it for longer. For this recipe, we don't need it to be like that. So I covered it for about 5 minutes. It has simmered. It is looking beautiful, smelling amazing. It is already almost perfect on taste. And because I'm using hard chicken, only because I'm using very hard chicken, I'm going to put my chicken in here now so it gets a chance to cook up a little bit more, absorb some of the moisture that is in the stew still, and come out perfect. So chicken is in here. If you are not using hard chicken, I would say wait until stew is almost done, maybe the last 15 minutes, and then you put your chicken in here. But my chicken is going in now. I'm just going to mix it all up here, let it just pick up all that tomato, just be covered and soak up the sauce, so that your chicken is going to be stewy. Like every bite of it is just going to be so good, and that is why I say it doesn't hit as good if it's not hard chicken. So to ensure that we have more moisture for the chicken to cook in, I'm going to add the stock. This is, as you can see, very, very, very concentrated. All those powders in here going in at this point. Chicken stew has never been better. I'm going to just stir this up, cover it, and let my stew simmer down so the chicken absorbs all these great fragrances and flavors, and it's gonna be so good. You have to try this to even understand. So the secret ingredient here that was on the chicken is Lawry's chicken and poultry broth. I had never used it. I don't know how I managed to send some to my mom, because you know I don't use a lot of seasonings. I think I had sent it long ago, like maybe 2 years ago, for an event, and I was just grabbing everything that, you know, possible seasonings that the caterer for the event was going to use, and it happened to not get to them on time, so they had to use whatever they could get, and my mom just loves this one, so she asked me to send her some. And I happened to just want to try because she was just raving about it and how fragrant it makes everything. I read the ingredients on it. It is just typical poultry seasoning, but of course it's dried, and it has other like garlic and onion powder on it. It is good. So if you find it, that is one ingredient that I have here, and it's going to be in the ingredient list. So our chicken has been in the stew for about 20 minutes at this point, covered, and all you can see, all the moisture has been trapped in here. So when I released the lid, you saw all the moisture just went back into the stew. It is perfect. It is almost like you're cooking it under pressure, so it has helped to make the chicken a little bit softer. It smells amazing. One thing Mama said was that, you know, when she makes stew with this Lawry's, you can smell it from afar. Like everybody is asking her what she's cooking. And yes, I experienced that. Nobody came to ask me, of course, what I'm cooking, but it was so fragrant. So anyway, I'm going to add my fresh ingredients here. I have some bell peppers and some onions cut up. I just love some texture in my stew, and of course that beautiful pop of color. So in here it goes. I'm going to just stir it and let it just sit in here for about 3 minutes. The residual heat is going to cook it. Of course, you know I meal prep all the time, so I'm not going to end up eating all this today. So I'm not going to overcook my veggies. Let it just get a little bit partially cooked. And of course, it's also going to introduce a lot of flavor and fragrance into the stew. All these fresh ingredients add a lot to your stew. And pretty much that is all it is about this chicken stew. Very simple, almost effortless. But the end result is something that whoever eats it is going to go back and rave about and tell people, hey, chicken stew, or his chicken stew. If you try it, you're going to ask for more. Missy, ubedie dibium, trese, obe kawansa. Trust me, this is very good. I really hope you are able to try it. We are in holiday season after all. Chicken stew is big in this season for us, and I hope you give this banger a try. Very simple, of course, but like I said, everybody's going to love it. So I paired this with coconut yellow rice. It was amazing. I've already shared the recipe for the yellow rice, so do check it out and give it a try. Kindly give me a thumbs up and share. And until I come your way next time with something delicious, be loving, be kind, be happy.